Well, it's the first day of summer. The suns are out and Damo's guns are out. Have a look at the pipes on him. Look at the singlet and the tan. This is unbelievable. Welcome back to the DeakHeads podcast, our first podcast of the summer. It's a beautiful day out in Melbourne. It's about 30 degrees and Damo's really taken to it in his dungeon there. He's got the pipes out. I always had to zoom out on his screen there. It's actually that big. Welcome to you, Damo.
Thanks, Rob. No, I was just out in the sweatbox gym, so I had to dress appropriately.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's the guns look pretty good there, and it's welcome to Shawnee as well. Hello, mate. Good to see you.
Yeah, g'day, Rob. Good to see you. Good to see you, Damo. Gee, he's looking big, isn't he, Rob?
Yeah, he's looking very big. If you're currently listening to this on an audio forum, you should really do yourself a favor and go to YouTube as well and check out Damo's. He's ready to go. He's obviously done a lot of beachies before he's come on the podcast today. He said to Sean and I, "Oh, boys, can we just push it back 15 minutes?" And I think I know why, because he was really getting that the last hammer curl in, I reckon.
Yeah, it just coincided with my buys and tries set, so just pushed it back. You got to be primed and ready for the podcast. Normally you push out a chest and pipes session, so just following suit there, Rob.
Mate, I did my first upper body weight session in about 6 months the other day, and I could not lift my arms above my head, I reckon, for 2 days after it. My pecs were literally cooked, mate. Couldn't lift anything. I only did about 3 sets on the benchy to start off on the bench press, and then did the accessory exercises and maybe a few more reps on the beachies. And, mate, I was still feeling the effects of it 3 days later. So that might be another podcast we can touch on in due course, Sean.
Yeah, that's really interesting, Rob. And it's funny you say it was your first upper body session in 6 months, because we do know that that's the only sort of training that you do is the upper body. You tend to steer away from the legs. But no, that's good, Rob. Good to see you get back into it.
Good to see that we practice what we preach here at Triax. So just straight back into it and can't move for 3 days.
On. Says you blokes who ran a half marathon of absolutely bugger all training, except for Sean's little 8K little jog around the week before.
Yeah, but that had a purpose.
Yeah.
This is just because you want to strut around with your T-shirts that are a size too small. You chuck them through the dryer, make sure they're really tight, and then you walk around like you got watermelons under your arms. It's a bit different to our reasons for running a half marathon, mate.
Yeah, right. That's great. That's a great call, Sean. But contrary to your earlier comment, I do have a 10-kilometre event coming up at the Melbourne Marathon Festival. So if you're competing in the Melbourne Marathon Festival, particularly the 10K, then if you see me, give us a shout out. I'm sure our thousands of followers will be involved in that. And I noticed you two boys, stranger, didn't enter. Is that because you didn't get your entries in on time, or you just couldn't be staffed, or don't have the tank?
Still,
I think we showed that we've
half marathon. Yeah,
I think we showed we've both got the tank, but I think to be honest, Rob, I kind of forgot about it, and so good luck to you, mate.
Unbelievable, Damo. You got anything to say to that?
Oh, look, Shawnee, I'm probably just going to go down do the Yarra Trail that day and just punch out 10Ks anyway.
Save the $100.
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's it. But, mate, you get to finish on the Hello Turf, the MCG, so pretty keen to do that. And I'll be sharing my race day prep as well, maybe on the socials, on the stories and Twitter and where else are we on? TikTok. Get on the TikTok as well. I actually got some running shoes coming today, so we'll see how we go. But pretty keen for that one, Shawnee. But maybe we should stop the ramble now and actually talk about what this podcast episode's about. And so our previous episode, we spoke about what did we speak about? what are we talking about?
Your yoga.
That's it, yoga. Yeah, yoga and the fires and all that sort of stuff. And then you alluded to it towards the end. We should talk about, I've been off social media for a few months now, in particular Instagram and Facebook, and how that's changed me as a person, or how that's sort of affected my life. And I guess I don't know whether it has sort of some similar ties to what your conversation, Sean, about your mental health or whatever, but I feel like being off social media has probably been a positive benefit for me in my life. I reckon at this point, it's been an interesting experience, and it's something that I thought that would be an interesting topic to talk about today, boys.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it continuing on from your Pfizer yoga mishap chat that we had, it's just more me time for you, Rob. You just can't get enough of it. You just want to tell the world about yourself and just have some more time in front of the camera.
I don't know if he got off the socials because he was getting personally DM'd too much, or if it's sort of a personal development sort of thing. But yeah, he is the main man of Triax on the socials. I think he was getting a few lewd messages on Instagram.
Yeah, well, there you go. So it's good. It's good. And you know what I really like about the Triax family? It's good to come into this supportive space. And, we would talk about, your Pfizer and your yoga complaints and near-death experiences there, and you come to it on social media, you just get really welcomed and embraced. So I appreciate the love and support from both of you. It really means a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome, mate. Anytime.
Yeah, thanks. All right, well, so I'll just start from the top, and then you guys can sort of interject with different questions or whatever. But I reckon probably it was about 2.5 months ago, I reckon now, that I decided just to get myself off Instagram and Facebook primarily. And look, there wasn't really an event that made me say, oh, look, I need to get off this now or whatever. But it was just like this feeling that I needed, that I was just so jammed up with stimulus or stimuli coming from all these different places. I just felt a bit paralyzed. I don't know whether that makes sense or anything, but like my day would consist of so much digital time, whether that's Instagram or Facebook, all the TikTok, all that sort of stuff as well, that I just wasn't living anymore. I just wasn't really living my own life. I was too busy looking and scrolling and doing whatever. And I would just lose, 20, 30 minutes at a time, just being engulfed by Facebook or Instagram. And none of the content's interesting, like I realized. And I was just thinking, oh, what the hell am I doing? Like I'm just sitting here doing nothing and wasting my life looking at people putting, I think, fake portrayals of their own on there. And so that was, I guess, basically the impetus for doing it. And so basically just took myself off there, and I was sort of waiting for a bit of a cold turkey period to come where, I need to get back on it, or, I need to check back on and see what's happening or whatever, feel disconnected. But that still hasn't come yet. Like, I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything, which I think is a good thing at the moment. And it's been a much more productive time, which I think we'll talk about in a sec. But generally for, I guess, my life and my day-to-day well-being, I feel a lot more engaged in what's happening here and now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess your comment about missing out on things, because I think when I consider maybe getting off social media for a period of time, I'm worried that I'm not going to see things that I feel like I need to know, or like I'm going to miss out on some sort of information or milestone that someone shares, or whatever it may be. And I think that's probably, for me anyway, one of the main reasons why I haven't probably taken that step, or when I have taken that step, it hasn't lasted too long, because it's like this element of not knowing sort of gets to me or bugs me a little bit. So it's interesting that it hasn't really affected you in that way yet.
Yeah, I agree with you, Shawnee. I think like I use probably Twitter as a source of like a lot of news or updates or things that are going on in the world. So I think for me, it might be a little bit difficult. I don't really watch the news on TV or anything like that. I'm generally out and about working when it's on. So that's normally where I get my like information on what's going on in the world, which is not the best because it's obviously quite conflicting and it's biased and that sort of stuff. But I think I wouldn't have too much of an issue getting rid of like Facebook or Instagram, as you said, because it's a lot of that's just recycled garbage really, that and people portraying other things like you said. But I think for me that like Twitter would be a hard one to give up, just because that's sort of like my news of what's going on in the world, just because I don't really watch a whole lot of TV, which is where you would get it from otherwise, unless you're reading the newspaper.
Yeah, but what Sean said is interesting though, and what I spoke about is the milestone thing. That has actually affected me, because there's been a couple of people. I know one person who's from school who's a mate of mine who is currently pregnant and is due to give birth soon. And so, like, if I'm not on Facebook, I don't know when it's happening and when the date is. And I know people that have had birthdays that I haven't had said happy birthday to that I usually would, because I don't get a notification anymore to say it's their birthday. So they're obvious challenges, which is quite difficult. And then Sean and I obviously have a close friend of the podcast in Rian from uni, and Damon knows as well, whose partner has given birth recently as well. And so I'm not sure whether that was even posted on social media or whatnot. But again, we would have missed out had that message not come through to say that that we had a baby or whatever. So there is an element of that, and I feel like in this connected age, I might come across as rude or not thinking, or I guess not considerate of what's going on in other people's worlds, which is so weird. But that's probably one of the drawbacks of it, as Sean was saying.
Do you then think that would, in a way, force you to then reach out to people and keep contact with people in a more meaningful way, as opposed to just viewing their lives like as a sort of that third person view and sort of standing back and watching it happen without like that meaningful interaction? Like if someone posts something on Instagram, like you could just like the post or something, but now you're having to reach out and actually have a conversation. Do you think that would maybe like develop your relationships and maybe strengthen them in a way?
Yeah, mate, I'd never looked at it like that, and that's probably a good way to look at it. Is to be more proactive on that front. And I guess it makes you seem more considerate, I guess, if you do that.
Yeah.
Knowing that you don't have that direct news feed as to what's happening with different people in the world. So I guess that's a good way to look at it, man. It's probably something that I've neglected to do, is that to actually do that and reach out. And obviously had a lot of stuff going on lately, but to take that initiative and contact people first up, I think it's probably a good way to do it, mate. I think you're probably right too. It's something that I didn't consider, I don't reckon.
Yeah, well, I guess it just sorry, Damo, like, because being in a group chat with Rian, I know you reached out and mentioned to him, look, I'm not on social media, so keep me in the loop what's going on with him and Michelle. And I think that was good that you made him at least aware of it. So it wasn't coming across as rude or whatever, but no, that's good, mate. I think it's a good way to look at it, that you might then have to be a bit, even though it probably puts a little bit of pressure on you then, or a little bit of the impetus on you to then reach out and get on the front foot. But then again, if those people then know that you're not on social media, it could be a way for them to reach out to you as well. But yeah, sorry, Damon, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say that, like, the most important people, the people that you like are in contact with, you're generally going to have their phone number anyway. A lot of the people that you have on social media, you went to school with, but you haven't spoken to for 10 years. Like, I very rarely post on someone's wall for their birthday these days. Like, if it's someone, it's a nice reminder to get that sort of stuff, but I will just send them a text message. And if I don't have their phone number, well, I probably haven't spoken to them for a long time, so I'm not going to do that. So I think that's a good way, like as you said, that if you actually care about the person or it's important, like, you're probably going to have their phone number, or you can reach out to them and get their phone number and then have that more meaningful direct contact. I think a text message is a lot more personal than a post on a Facebook wall or a DM on Instagram or something like that. Like, it does go a long way.
But how do you know, Damo, if you don't have Facebook when their birthday is? Because I don't regularly, now I will, but before that, I wouldn't store people's birthdays in some sort of calendar app or something like that. Now, obviously, taking those steps. But how do you do that without Facebook? Because that's the problem I had, is that, like, I don't know any of these people. Do I text message everyone and say, when's your birthday? When's your birthday? When's your kid's birthday? When's all that sort of stuff? Like, that's the thing. That's the problem I have at the moment. And that's obviously one of the good things about social media, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're probably not going to go out and reach out to everyone and, jot down their birthday or anything like that. But there's certainly the people in your closest inner circle, I hope that you know what their birthday is. And then the friends around that, if you're still hanging in on a group chat or something like that, hopefully it pops up in there. But yeah, it is difficult because obviously, outside my parents, my girlfriend and my brother, I don't really remember anyone's birthday.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I've got my housemate's birthday wrong by 3 days. I'm always out by a couple of days. I've got no idea what it is. So thankfully, Facebook pops up and tells me it's his birthday that day, and we've lived together for 8 years. So yeah, it does show that it is hard, but yeah, maybe you're gonna have to walk around with a diary.
Yeah, I think so. And so what happened at work is one of the mates at work, I knew it was their birthday around I think it must be like late September or late October or something. I knew it was around then. And I said, "Is it your birthday today?" And they're like, "Nah, it was 3 days ago." And I was like, oh. Like, you know, so that's what it's like. And they're like, "Oh shit!" Like, but again, like what Sean said, once I explained the situation, like, "Oh, well, that's good that you actually remembered without, you know, a reminder," like sort of thing, which is good. But again, it's sort of that digital age we've become accustomed to, that you could be like come off as rude, or, you know, if not considerate, if you don't, you know, sort of have that knowledge of when people's events are. But one of the things I reckon's been interesting is the amount of people that have since contacted me that are like, you know, semi-close to me or close, and have asked me if I've blocked them on social media.
Really?
So that's been, I reckon I've had 6 people that have messaged me and said, "Look, you know, what's going on? Have you know, have I done something to you? You know, have you blocked me on social media?" And I've laughed every time, thinking this is hilarious. But I'm thinking, Jesus, hang on, this is the way life is that if you, because, you know, I've obviously disappeared off Facebook and Instagram or whatever, and you can't find me on there. So yeah, it's interesting now how that's been conditioned, that if somebody's off social media, it doesn't announce their, you know, departure, and you try and find them and all of a sudden they're not there, whether you think people will block you or not, which again is like the ultimate ghosting or get out of my life, isn't it?
That's strange that's the first response, like, have you blocked me, as opposed to like how are you, like, is everything all good? I noticed I can't find you on Facebook. Like, that's strange, because like if you can still message someone, you're not blocked, are you? Like,
no, these were text messages. So these were texts from people. But yeah, again, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, a few things have popped up for me there. So Rob, like, do you think at all professionally that's affected you? Because I know obviously you've probably gone off LinkedIn as well, if I'm right.
So
you're still on that?
So I'm still on LinkedIn. I'm still on Twitter. That's it. Everything else, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, that's
LinkedIn give the birthday notifications, mate.
Yeah, but again, they're people, half the people on LinkedIn I don't even know personally.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm not going to send someone from overseas, like, "Hey mate, happy birthday. We've never met before, but I hope it's a good one." Like, you know. So yeah, sorry, Damien, go ahead. You were saying.
Yeah, so my question was just about like professionally, or, you know, like for your work side of things, this change hasn't done anything. Like, I know a lot of us can get caught up or swept up in the hype of some Instagram coaches or influencers, especially in the strength and conditioning side of things, Shawnee. But for you, Rob, like, is that a source of truth or information that you're missing out on now that you're not on those platforms?
I will say, like, as I said, like, I've always appreciated LinkedIn, excuse me, for what it is, as a networking app and a place where you get news and information. So I've not, but another thing, I don't really use LinkedIn all that much. Like, I'm not on LinkedIn every day. So that's wasn't something that was consuming a lot of my time. So I didn't have need to get rid of that. And I see that as a viable tool for networking opportunities, and have had experiences where, you know, people have contacted me to ask to interview for certain positions off there. So that's also a source of concern. Twitter's a bit different. Twitter's a bit of a hybrid there that you can also waste a bit of time on. So I have to be careful with Twitter, and then I don't go off that. But yeah, like, that's still a problem, is that I don't use Facebook or Instagram for, you know, networking or whatever. And I remember one of the athletes that Milestones asked me how I got my information, and where I got my literature from, and read up and stuff, and said, you know, the usual ways. And his response was, "Oh, what, you don't use Instagram?" And I was like, "Well, no." I said, you know, these are the places where I go to that are reputable and peer reviewed, and you know, have some sort of credibility behind it. So it's interesting that you'd say that. And I guess that might be a bit of a I don't want to say misconception, but I guess that's a place or a forum where people go who probably don't have the same qualifications we do or experiences, that they go to Instagram to find things that they think are relevant and accurate information.
I use Instagram a bit. I think there's a bit of a like strength and conditioning community, if you will, on Instagram. But I think it's about using your own filter to know what to put stock into and what to ignore and let through the keeper, because there is some really valuable stuff on Instagram, and I've taken stuff and used things in my own programming that I've seen on Instagram and different social media platforms. But there's also a lot of stuff where I'm like, that's junk, that's rubbish, and it's disappointing that that's being broadcast to so many different people. But I think that the problem with the social media stuff is just like trying to work out, from our own perspective, trying to work out what is worth using and listening to and what's not. Because I think Twitter's the same thing as well. Like when you go down I've noticed when you go down a bit of a rabbit hole, it sort of curates your feed to things that they know you're interested in.
Yeah.
And so you're only getting that one perspective of things I've typically noticed.
Yeah, I agree, Shawnee. Like, we're on Instagram, if we share something to each other, it's generally something that's useful, but a lot of the time it's something that we're like, oh dear God, like this probably shouldn't be out there. So it is, like you said, you have to have that filter and that fine comb to sift through what's useful and what's not. And as you said, there's some really great stuff out there, and there's been stuff that I've used and probably stuff that we've implemented at Triax that's being based on stuff that we see on there. But at the end of the day, like if you really want to find the information, you can go through alternate avenues. Like you can look up a peer reviewed journal, or you can go onto like YouTube or different sources there where you're looking for something specific that you want, rather than what's just looping through your feed there. The only other thing that I could think of, sorry Shawnee, was I know there's a couple of mates in my group that are a little bit older that don't get invited to things on Facebook events, and have actually missed out on like being invited to a gathering or an important event because people have actually just done it on Facebook, and because they're not an active user, they've sort of been forgotten about, because it's easy when you just go through your friends list and go, yep, I'm going to invite these 30 or 40 people, when that person doesn't pop up in there, unless you like have the peace of mind to actually go, no, I got to send that person a text. They've sort of been forgotten about.
So I would hope though that in that situation that I was of importance to somebody's life for them to still realise and send a text or whatever. Like that stuff doesn't bother me too much, because if people want me there, then they still have avenues to directly contact me. So that stuff doesn't really bother me too much. Like if you forget someone on Facebook, then I think that sort of says more about them than it does you. But yeah, like that's still, again, I'm sure there's like copious amounts of examples out there that have happened. That's happened to them. So yeah, I don't know. Like it's a tricky one, but yeah, as I said, I'm more comfortable in the fact that hopefully I'm of great enough importance to someone or people that they'd still be able to find where I live, or send a letter, telegram, whatever, Damo, the carrier pigeon. You like to reference that a bit. So yeah, that sort of stuff.
My other point was that like we all have worked in sport and at the professional level, and the majority of those people don't have Facebook, or if they do, it's heavily private, just for the fact that they don't want every man and his dog being there trying to add them or be their friend or seeing what goes on in their personal life. I guess the alternative to that is a lot of organizations use WhatsApp, which is again like a phone number based thing. So as a communication platform, and if you want to be in that without sort of having to be out there and sifting through all the other stuff, I guess that's a really good platform. I know footy clubs and sporting clubs I've worked at, that's their way to go, because coaches might be a little bit older and don't use social media, and then players, it's easier because you can actually make direct contact via a phone number rather than like a messenger group or something like that. What are your thoughts on that there, Rob?
Yeah, that's the way to go. And again, it's good, and you don't really waste too much time on WhatsApp either, because it's just a message you look at. It's the same with Messenger, I guess. You just look at it, you're off it, and then you're back to whatever you're doing pretty quick. You can't really waste too much time on WhatsApp unless someone sends some sort of video or whatever. I don't think there's really much wasting for scrolling or whatever, because it's obviously old news, old messages. So I don't really have an issue with that. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, and everyone has a phone number, don't they? So it's not like it's can't be accessed by everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right.
So, Rob, I'm curious because I guess we've spoken a bit about mental health in the past on some of our podcast episodes. Sometimes for some people, I don't know if it was the case for you, but social media has a bit of a negative effect on mental health for some people. Being off social media for the last few months, have you noticed any sort of benefits towards your mental health or mental clarity or anything like that?
Yeah, well, I think I briefly touched on it at the start where I spoke about the being engulfed with stimuli, and it means like, just having my attention, focused on something 24/7. I feel like it's been good to, I guess, have some sort of break from the screen and being, being connected in different ways. And so I feel like there's a lot more clarity around some of my, I guess, my time away from the screen in terms of, being productive with work and study and stuff like that. So I feel like I have more time to dedicate things to things that really matter, which is good. And I feel like it makes me feel a lot more accomplished in that sense. And then with that accomplishment, I feel like there's less pressure on me to to keep the timelines and things like that, and not as much guilt as, I guess, and there's not as much guilt that I'm wasting time as well. So I feel like there's a few different things at play, Sean, to be honest, and I feel like they're all connected in some way, but it's very difficult to articulate. I feel like I guess how they sort of all interact, but those are sort of probably the main ones that I've suggested just there.
Do you feel like I guess in having that extra time up your sleeve?
Yeah.
I think me knowing you as a person, you tend to like to be like pretty productive and that sort of thing. And like constantly on the go. Do you think that's a bit of a problem, or have you used that? Well, not necessarily, problem's probably not the right word, but like the fact that you need to constantly be doing something and go, do you think that's almost detrimental in a way, or have you used that extra time to sort of, do things for yourself, where it be, I know you like to read, exercise, spend time with others, just to have time to yourself, some downtime, that sort of thing. Like, how have you spent that extra time, do you think?
So I've always, like you said, I've known Sean and I've known each other for a while now, since basically we were 18 or whatever. You would have been 17 still, weren't you, Sean? Back then?
Nah, 18, just freshly turned 18.
Yeah. That's always been a problem though. So like, what you say is true. Like, I am a person who likes to be productive and on the go because I want to achieve good things and decent things, and I feel like that comes with a lot of negativity as well. But that's always been me. Like, I feel like I've always had that I think irrespective of social media, I feel like I've always wanted to do good things, and I don't want to say big things. It's a bit of a cliche, but things that are meaningful to me that I've always wanted to achieve. And so I always do have that on the go because I feel like if I'm off, then I'll be lazy. I won't do it. And so that always creates pressure and saps away enjoyment. I feel like it's irrespective of social media. So that's something that I will always deal with irrespective of that. But I feel like the reduction in social media reduces that time away from me comparing myself to others, which would create more pressure on top of that, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Whereas this is just me against me, which is good. And I'm more happy with that than seeing, some vlogger I don't even know, boast about driving a Ferrari or whatever at the age of 22, like that sort of stuff. Like, the removal of that is positive, but I still have that inability to switch off sometimes and not feel guilty about not being productive. But that I still feel like that's better than me, and obviously me trying to improve and get better and chase things I want rather than being stagnant, which is good. And the second part of your question was, what do I do instead? Well, reading's obviously a good thing, as you touched upon. And I don't know, I might do a bit of a roaming Rob segment in this podcast, so you might have to check this out on YouTube. But I do have a recent addition to my humble abode here, and so you'll probably see I've got a nice little reading room.
Yeah.
So a nice little leather chair there as well. So that's taken up a lot of my time, which has been really good. So I've been able to, read and stuff. I have a nice addition later on for my key. I'll get a nice big lamp in there soon, so I won't have to have the small desk one in there. So that's where a lot of the extra time has been spent, which has been really good. So, just reading and adapting, so which is good. And it gives you a lot more solitude reading as well. So, yeah, that's a little bit of an insight anyway.
I guess just to follow on from that, Rob, like a lot of people will, sit on their phone and scroll through social media before bed. So you might go to bed 10 o'clock and next thing you know, it's 11:15 because it's been 45 minutes. And then you've had all of that, screen time and you're not really ready to switch off. Have you found that that's helped, even though you don't really switch off, but have you found that you've got to sleep easier or slept better because you're not doing that?
Oh, yeah. There's definitely less distractions, 100%. Like, but having said that, like, I'll still do stuff. Like, if I want to read something or if I've seen something on YouTube that I want to watch in terms of, if it's like a running thing, if it's a training thing, or if there's something I want to read, then if I have to do that electronically, I will. Like, I never really have much, had many issues with that. Like, if I'm tired and ready to go to bed, then I will. But I've replaced that also now with reading a book next to it. And I always do the old, if I need to wake up early, put my phone on my desk and then set the alarm and go to bed, because then it forces you to get up in the morning and force you to go to sleep when you're in the bed. So they're two easy techniques to do that are quite potent and beneficial there, Damo. But yeah, so and that's basically it, really. I guess it's not groundbreaking and it won't change all your lives, but it's just about better using your time, I reckon.
Yeah, that's good, Rob. Because I reckon I'm a bit the same. I feel like I start and end most of my days scrolling on my phone, and it's something that I want to stop doing. Because you sort of you end up scrolling because you're like, I'll just see what else is out there, what else is on there, and then by the end of it, you're like, oh, that was a bit of a waste of time. Didn't really see anything interesting, and before you know it, half an hour has actually gone by, even though you realize that you wasted your time. So, it's
we'll see. So before I started this, so this is an interesting little tidbit as well. I reckon I average about 6 hours a day of screen time before I started this, and now that's about just under 3 per day, which is, to be honest, like that's a stark contrast from where I was, and I think it's still a little bit less than that too, because what I do, I'm too tight to pay for YouTube. You know how you can get that YouTube where you can play outside of YouTube? You don't have to have the app open. So I'm too tight to pay for that. So I just leave my phone unlocked and open. And so I listen to things on YouTube, which I reckon that is at least an hour's worth anyway. But so I don't think it's still as high as 3. I think there's still, and people who know that, like doing this podcast now on the phone, that's going to up the screen usage, but it's not really wasting time, if that makes sense. So it's still pretty good anyway, I reckon.
Yeah, I reckon I went through a stage where I was trying to get my screen time down, but every time like I'd use like Google Maps in the car, like that would get it up as well. And you're just like, well, technically I haven't actually been, on my phone scrolling. I've been using it for a purpose, but it'd be good if you could almost take away some apps, or like you could, I don't know, I don't know, but if there was some way to do it, just so you get a more accurate sort of representation of it. But that notification that always comes through on a Sunday morning is pretty frightening sometimes.
During lockdown, it was like, oh god, don't even tell me. Like it's just.
It's like the notification on your Garmin watch to move when you've been sitting down for too long. Here we go. But look, I think we'll probably wrap it up there, because I don't like to talk about myself too much. I don't like the self-indulgence.
Yeah, believe it or not.
As you boys will realise. But yeah, look, just some tips, I guess. If you want to get off social media, then I don't think you necessarily need to make a grand announcement, but maybe just tell the people close to you that you're just going off it, and just let them know for the reasons why, I guess. I didn't do that because I don't like to make someone announcement just so I can do things, but you might get the occasional text ask whether you've been blocked or not, or you blocked someone, so that's interesting. And then maybe be proactive about it too. Maybe actually make a note of when people's birthdays are, or whatever you want to do. Like, if you're really fair income about going off it for a while, then that actually might save you some embarrassment I've had where I've, I guess you could say I forgot people's birthdays or got them wrong by a few days or whatever it might be. So if you really want to take that step, then that's a couple of tips I'd give you as well. And then really embrace what your hobbies are. Like Sean said, I do a lot of reading, which is I really love, and running now too. And running is good because Damo and I have been on a few slow distance runs on a Sunday morning, and I've run behind him a few times now, and obviously having golf, some alcohol fueled sweat from Damo's big Saturday nights and stuff like that. So that stuff as well, it takes time, and you just focus on your passions and stuff, and there's a lot more time to dedicate to that as well. So there's always stuff you can do, and it might not be for everyone as well, but I reckon it's helped me out a bit.
Good stuff,
That's
Rob.
good, mate.
Yeah, thanks,
Glad
boys.
to hear it's had a positive
Hey?
impact. Glad there has been worthwhile and beneficial.
Yeah, it has. It has. So we'll keep on keeping on. And if you boys got any big announcements, then just let me know. If you can, that'd be great.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, don't forget Christmas is December 25th, mate.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. When's the Christmas party? Is that when have we decided when the Christmas party's going to be yet?
No,
Did you miss out on the invite, did you?
Oh, no. Oh, mate. Oh, well. We'll see how we go. But thanks to you guys for just being curious about my social media habits, and I appreciate you giving me the time to share it today. So hopefully somebody out there got some value out of it. And if they're thinking about doing it, then this might give a few pointers that might save them some time. So thanks to you, blokes. And I think we've got another podcast coming up as well, which I'll keep the content of secret. A, because I don't think we actually have a topic, and B, because we haven't planned it yet. So thanks for that. Before we go, Damo, do you want to give an update in your home gym?
Yeah, we're pretty much ready to rock and roll. So by the time this is uploaded, we'll be up and running. We'll put some stuff up on social media about how to contact us if you are interested in coming to train there.
Yeah, beautiful. And we will have some exciting stuff around the appearance of trikes globally, as you might say, soon enough. So read into that what you will. Thanks to you, Sean. You've been great today.
Hey, thanks, Rob. Thanks for sharing.
All good. And also, if you want to see some LinkedIn battles between Sean and Damo against various strength and conditioning professionals, then go hover around LinkedIn as well. We won't name names, won't discuss anything, but there's a bit going on LinkedIn as well. So make sure you don't deactivate from LinkedIn, because you might see some popcorn moments like I have recently.
No jab, no play, Rob.
Yeah, I've been called an idiot by certain people. So go check that out as well.
Oh boy, we might do a podcast on that next week. All right. Not live from the Supreme Court with the defamation charges. All right. Well done, boys. Good stuff. Good to see you. And I'll probably see you soon, eh?